Today, we'll be talking about preparing our whole selves. As we live and experience new things, every part of us evolves. Well, great things are happening, and I don't want you to miss out. Check out the description on whatever platform you're tuning in to stay connected. Also, don't forget, subscribe and share. This cloud is big enough for all of us. And with that, welcome to Cloud Thrive. I'm DaiJuan, life coach and your host, and thank you for joining me on Cloud Thrive. As we continue to rise to greatness and achieve great things, let's make sure that we continue to be real, stay on target, push through with a clear mind, always willing to rethink the possible, but most of all, let's thrive. We're back for another week, and we have another topic on the table. So, this week we're talking about preparing our whole selves. There has been a really strong push to have this conversation, and I want to respect that you all have made it very clear that we touch on this subject today, especially given what's happening in our country at this moment. And while we start doing that, the reason preparing our whole selves is important is because we oftentimes, depending on our space, choose what parts of us we show. We become apologetic in what parts we bring with us to work, to school. We show our friends, our family. But who honestly gets to see you? Not just one part, but all of you. So it's called preparing your whole self. And we understand that when we say prepare, that means we're beginning. And we're starting this journey. And so I wanted to be intentional about how we discussed it so that you understand what's happening. So there's three very vital questions that we'll go over that really speak to preparing you for anything that you're getting ready to walk into, anything that you feel you need the courage to do or move forward or press into. These three key questions are important to ask yourself, to allow you to reflect, to forecast ahead, and to really take some time to figure out where you're standing now. So, as we begin to have that conversation, let's keep in mind we cannot hold on to what has been when we understand we are in a space of change. There's always room for growth, and there's always room for change. We can't force it, but we can encourage it. We can allow space and opportunity to think through, what do I lose from this change, but also what do you gain from this change? So let's go through the three questions. And of course, I want you guys to join in the conversation and let me know where you are, what you think, and how we can continue this conversation so that I could uh, at least guide where or how those next steps are working out for you guys if you do need that help. So, the first part of preparing your whole self is to gain an understanding of who you would like to become. And this doesn't mean you're becoming someone different, or this doesn't mean you're turning in to maybe a friend or someone you admire. Who would you like to become, or who is it you'd like to become, is more of a question that's reflective. What type of person would you like to be? Are you being your true self in this moment or moving forward? And if you're not, then the clarifying question is why? What's missing? Question two is, well, who are you now? And it kind of ties into the first question, but who are you now? And so this may not be done in a space where you have a lot of people who may pose influence, but it's a great question to ask when you're by yourself and you have the opportunity to reflect on what's happening and, how has that shaped you? And as we begin to forecast, I'm sure a lot of you have figured out what the third question is, well, what do you need to happen to have your goals be achievable? And what does that look like? I paused because I felt like in that moment you guys were going to need to digest what was happening. So, realistically, what do you need to have your goals be achievable? Where can you position yourself to be the most useful to achieve your goal or achieve greater? And in order to do that, we have to start talking about and having the conversations around courage. And if we start doing that, then we're really preparing ourselves. So let me go over the three questions again that really help to begin to frame preparing yourself. So that those three questions are, who would you like to become? Who are you now? And what needs to happen to have your goals be achievable? Reflect, sit in it, and really, really figure out what that means to you. If it means writing it down, making a vision board, going out with a few friends who really understand and align with your purpose, have that conversation with them. Not in a way where they begin to influence or change, but just for clarity. Sometimes those who are aware of our purpose and who have watched this journey, they hold that mirror for us so they can actually share what's happening and what's going on. So that's a great those are great ways or good starting methods for answering a lot of these questions. And if we can reflect here for a second, having courage and figuring out what all this means and what the next steps are truly resonates with all of us. And the same way you're human and you're going through life, so am I. Life is not perfect. However, it's a breeding ground for opportunity. And it depends on how you look at it that determines what your outcomes will be. And right now in our country, no one should feel like there's nowhere to turn while we're fighting through these pressing times. And so a lot of you all have reached out by email suggesting ways of opening the conversation beyond just a one-on-one or small group sessions. So the podcast is here to do that, where we can all have the conversation and we can open up dialogue and figure out what and how we continue to navigate. And I love that. You guys are on it, and I couldn't ask for a better space to be in. I'm fully appreciative and humbled that you guys would want to open this up in this way, especially here in DC, where it's not often that you have someone who is willing to just really put their boots on the ground and get to know the people, not only in their neighborhood, but in the area, who's not afraid to go out and and push and press that change. Uh, I love doing what I do. So to move it into a podcast has been a bit interesting. It really has. So, one, thank you all. It took courage, and it took for me to actually ask these questions. And it's one of those things where it's undeniable once you see it. And I understand and accepted that that purpose was mine. I found my purpose. I know what it is. But it wasn't an easy journey finding it, nor was it an easy journey to push through and make sure that I was going to be determined and committed to really make this happen the way it has. So all of that, in all of that, I needed to prepare myself. And I needed to really allow change to get here. It truly has been a journey. And right now, with what has happened to George Floyd recently and what has been happening for quite some time among the African American community, this is an ongoing thing. So, what has taken place, what you see is the result of so many people suppressing and not being able to be their full selves or be their whole selves. So this is not just an event. This is not just a phase. This is an experience. This is our existence. And I say our because, of course, I'm hosting a podcast. So you may not know what I look like, but I am a Black woman. I'm a Black woman raising a Black son and daughter, and we are not okay. We have not been okay. And I'm fully aware that my presence and courage may make others uncomfortable, and it has. But as a people, we have to be okay now with this change. We can invite this change and move from this space of complacency. There is bigger and there is better. And it's there if you'd like to grab it. So we've talked about a lot. So let's just recap. Because I want to make sure that, you know, the next part of this is really going to allow us to build the pillars and establish those priorities as we continue to prepare our whole selves. So asking the three questions that begin the conversation of preparing yourself for no matter what it is that you're doing, the questions that you want to take a moment to just dive deep into, ask yourself, reflect, is who would you like to become? Who are you now? And what needs to happen to have your goals and your purpose and your vision be achievable? And as your coach, where can I position myself to be most useful for you to achieve greater? I want to make sure that's a thing. I want to make sure that we continue this conversation. Yes, this is different. And yes, this is, very new for us to do this over a podcast, but I understand the need and I want to be there to support the need. So, where can I position myself to be most useful for you to achieve greater? And we're going to continue the conversation talking about courage. And that's very vital in preparing your whole self because you can't leave any part of you behind. So, let's take a minute here. All right, let's jump in. So, continuing the conversation from preparing our whole selves, we really have to go back to the questions that we ask ourselves as we begin to look at ourselves as a whole. Again, those questions that we ask ourselves is who would we like to become? Who are we now? And what needs to happen to have our goals be achievable? And so In building our pillars and establishing the priorities so that we have a better sense of what the next steps will be, we need to figure out, where do we prioritize most of our energy? Do we prioritize and focus a lot on who we would like to become? Or do we spend a lot of time thinking about who we are now? And then the last part of that is, of course, well, how much time do you spend thinking about what needs to happen to have your goals be achievable? If you could, I'd like for you to really take time to either write this down, draw it out. I don't care if you make a map. List as many things as you can and prioritize them in whatever order makes sense to you. So if you say, or make this list or vision board, start off with, who would you like to become? And create a vision board or list or whatever works best for you and how you learn. Look at and write down all of the elements that you think about when you start talking about who would you like to become. Visualize that person and think about, how much of your time in a day, in a week, in a month, in a year do you spend thinking about who you'd like to become? And the same goes for who you are now. If you really took the time to think about who you are now in every facet of your life, what does that look like? And again, list as many things as possible, prioritize them in whatever makes sense to you, from top to bottom, left to right, inside to outside, whatever works. You can do that. But who are you now? Looking at your work or career, who are you? Looking at your love life, who are you? And are you being your most authentic self? How you interact with your family and your friends, by yourself. Who are you now? Look at all of that. And when we start talking about what needs to happen to achieve your goals, well, how much time do you spend thinking about what you need to have happen? And you can create this vision board or make this list of what needs to happen to have your goals be achievable, and really look at it. And so once you've done that, and once you've taken the time to prioritize it, I want you to go back and look at that last part. What needs to happen to have your goals be achievable? Because now there are three, in this space, there are three things that we discuss as we really grab hold of coming into preparing our whole selves, not leaving any part of us behind, and really achieving our goals. The first one is roadblocks. As we often want to achieve a goal, do we take time to think about the roadblocks that might stop us? Not when we get there or get to that first roadblock or intersection, but thinking about it ahead. What's keeping us? What will keep us from achieving our goals? Second part of that, what can we take action on today, tomorrow, or even this week to add momentum to your success? Wake up early, meditate, walk, call your friend who's like always that energy bomb that you need. Take action. Even if that means introducing self-care into your daily routine. I know self-care is, as a few of my clients have shared, they feel like self-care is overutilized. And you have to remember it's whatever works best for you. Whenever you need to recharge, you're not feeling up to truly engaging at 100%, or wherever your threshold is where you know you can perform at your best. That last part is your daily routine. Yep, your daily routine. So, as you begin to introduce new habits, it might be helpful to think about how they'll strengthen and focus your goals and really help you to define those steps. And it may be a bit challenging to do, but and you feel like, oh well, I've tried it, it doesn't work. I'll just figure it out another way, or I'll put that goal on the back burner. Let's not do that. How about we figure out what's happening throughout a whole day, and we look at what habits can be removed or stopped, or better yet, what habits in our daily routine have we already learned from? What do we better understand that we no longer need? And then from there, we could swap out those habits that we no longer need in for the new ones. And no, it doesn't happen overnight, but if we're intentional about this change, we can get there incrementally at your own pace. You can be more aggressive with it if you know you need to be, or we can be a bit more passive with it and we have to gradually get you there. Whatever it is, I know you're capable of getting there. So let's go through those pillars of establishing our priorities and really understanding what it'll look like as we grab hold and we have this courage and this momentum to move forward. The activity that I shared with you is to prioritize or find a way to prioritize and organize who you would like to become, who you are now, and what needs to what needs to happen for your goal to be achievable. And you can do this in whatever way works for you. You can have um, this done on canvas. I've had a couple of people make this a full art project with friends and family. That's an awesome idea. If it's yourself, you can make a scrapbook, or you can create art around this progressive version or vision of you. And that would be great. And if you could share that on social media with me, that'd be great. Use the hashtag build rise thrive or hashtag cloud thrive. With that, uh, the second part of working through your pillars and establishing these priorities is being able to understand those roadblocks and plan for those roadblocks so that you have the support that's needed to maneuver through them and really champion past them. The next is to take action. Where can you take action? And that last is understanding your daily routine and making changes there if necessary. So, again, for this last part, I've shared with you the 4 pillars of establishing your priorities and starting to plan moving forward your whole self in its best version. And yes, that means having the courage to just grab life and be prepared to enjoy that ride. With that, I want to begin talking about homework. I know it's weird, but you guys got homework. So, just to recap, we're made up of so much more than the people see. I'm sorry, we're made up of so much more than people see on the outside. So, I really want you guys to understand what's most important to you about your goal. And I know it's scary, but What must happen at this point in time for you to achieve your goal? Not what could have been or what should have been, but what happens now? And thinking about all these parts of you, how will you utilize your gifts and your talents to establish your pillars? Because I know that you guys are nothing short of amazing. So I want to leave you with 3 gifts until we meet next week. And your gifts are this: you are powerful, you are phenomenal, and you are enough. As we begin to come down from Cloud Thrive and champion through the rest of the week, I want you guys to remember to build strong, rise with intention, and thrive with courage and confidence to be the change you want to see. Again, this cloud is big enough for all of us, and don't forget to subscribe and share. With that, we'll connect again next week.